who's going to get the glory and who's going to get the credit.
That's right.
You either want the credit, the glory, or the money.
Yes.
Okay? If you give somebody enough money, they don't care if they get the credit for a little while. You know, I think about these, and I'm just telling you what I think about, and I can say some things that you can't say because you're very nice and you got these things. But I mean, I think about some of these crooked politicians that have hundreds of millions of dollars. Okay? Now, they're sitting there with things that we don't even understand, that amount of money. And they're dried up and old and still crooked more. And I'm thinking, you know, what do you really want? And it's the power, it seems to me like. They still want to maintain that power because tomorrow, if you took them out of that position and they still had their 100 million, they still probably, nobody would even speak to them.
Right.
Okay? They would just be lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, that's a valid point.
Because of the power. I don't know. I think about that a lot. I think of what is it you're really after? You know, it's not for the good of things.
Right. You've already made your money.
Yeah.
Right. You're right. It is about the power.
You know, and I think about that too when we look at politicians that are worth $35,000, then they become a congressman and they're worth $40 million in 2 years. I'm thinking, gee whiz. But also I'm thinking, and it's probably a reason that I'm not in these positions, okay? If I was sitting there and I was a congressman and I knew that I could invest over here and make back 40-fold, I don't know what I'd do.
You can't hardly blame them. But, you know, people often ask me, they'll say, you know, how does this, you know, I see what the salary is for that position. How does this person live this lifestyle? You know, and in Virginia anyway, campaign contributions can be used any way that you see fit. So they're used for, you know, salary and things like that. Right. And so it winds up funding lifestyles for a couple of people. But that's one thing. But then there's, you know, what you're saying and the insider trading, I guess, or whatever you'd label it as. I'm not smart enough on that topic to be able to speak intelligently, but I know that's that's a big part of it, and it's not right. It's certainly not right. But can you really blame them?
Right.
You know,
that's what I'm saying. You know what I mean?
Right.
Can you really, when you look at it and think of, I mean, and I know there's really good people there that say, "Oh, I wouldn't do this." Okay, I'm saying, okay, you're a really nice person, and hold to your guns, okay. But there's these sometimes, and I make great allowances. My wife says I make an excuse for Charles Manson. Okay, I make excuses for people. Okay, and I see them in a position. I'm thinking, you know, I've had people that I know that are hooked on oxy, that are doing different things. And before I get too hard on them, I try to think, could I take a week and not eat Chips Ahoy cookies? Yeah. Okay? I mean, you know, or not drink Diet Pepsi. So, you know, I'm not as hard on them.
We're all human.
Yeah. And I'm rough around the edges. I know that. I was sharing someone the other day. I've got 3 guitars, okay? Can't play. I did take lessons at the School of Rock in Myrtle Beach. I got the strumming thing down, okay? But the reason I can't play is I don't think the Lord will let me play because I'd probably be in every bar up and down the road with a country hat on. And I told my wife, I said, you couldn't be coming up talking to me while I'm playing because you'd be ruining the vibe when I tip my hat and playing the guitar. And so that's why I can't play. I'm very sure that's probably one of the reasons, because I would succumb to the temptation of just singing I'd be on Myrtle Beach down on the boardwalk. You know what I mean?
Right.
Playing my hat out there. And but I see people, temptation is a big thing in people's lives. And they act like when they see somebody fall to that or succumb to that what a rascal and how awful they were. And I'm thinking, man, so you've been in their shoes.
Right. Absolutely. No, we're all very close to, you know, just one decision away from a different life.
Right.